This series is all about calculations with percentages. In this first video, I'm going to show you a few shortcuts when calculating the percentage of another number. Now the first is 50%. Now it's just important to know that when you're calculating 50%, that is just half of the number. So all you have to do when calculating 50% of a number is halve the number. So 50% of $68, all we have to do is divide 68 by 2 to halve it. Once we understand that 50% is just halving the number, then we can extend that if we're asked to find 25%. Because 25 is half of 50, which means we can just halve the number twice. Halving it the first time gives us 50%, then halving the 50% gives us 25%. So 25% of 68, first let's divide 68 by 2 to get 50%, which we did in the question above. Once we have 50%, we halve it again to get 25%. So $17 is 25% of 68. 25% of $29 . That's 50% is $14.50. Then we divide that by 2 a second time. Dividing by 2 tends to be something that children can do fairly easily. So if we break down that step in that way, it becomes something that a lot of students find easier to cope with than if you tell them to divide by 4, which would yield the same result. So 25% of 29 is $7.25. The next method I'll talk about is the 10% method. Now the 10% method involves moving the decimal place one spot to the left. So 10% of anything is found by lifting the decimal spot and moving it one spot in. So there you can see it is between the 7 and the 2. I lift it and move it between the 1 and the 7, giving me now $1.72. So 10% of $17.20 is $1.72. 10% of 657.3, lift the decimal place, move it one spot to the left, and I get 65.73. 65.73. So we lift the decimal, move it one spot. 10% of $5, when you don't see the decimal, just remember that it is after the units, so it's there at the end. So if I lift that and move it in one, it'll now be in front of the 5. So that means it would be a decimal point and then the 5. So when the decimal point has got no number in front of it, there is always a 0. So when we're talking about money, $0.5 is 50 cents. So 10% of $5 is 50 cents. So 10% method is moving the decimal point one spot to the left. Some other little tricks I'll show you in the next video is to find 5%, to find 1%, and then putting all of these little tricks together when you're asked to find a percentage that isn't exactly 50%, 25%, or 10%. How you use all these tricks together to find other percentages.